Well, good afternoon, church family and friends. My name is Trey Poole. I'm the minister of the gospel here at and for the Yop Church of Christ, and this is going to be our devotional for today. I know we generally try to go right at around 4 o'clock, but got a few things happening today. Got our daughter Ashlyn's coming for a quick visit tonight, and got a few things to do, got a visit to make. So I want to go ahead and just put our devotional out there. If you're watching it live right now, which many of you are, wonderful, thank you. If you're going to pick this thing up and see it at 4 o'clock or later on today, hope and pray that you're blessed. But as we get started today, church family, you may already know, you've seen it already, the sad news of one of our own, Sister Mildred Castleberry, passed away late last night, early this morning. We want to remember her and her family in your prayers. I don't believe there's going to be a service as of right now, but if you hear of something in regards to Mildred Castleberry and her funeral service at a later date, please just let me know. But today for our thought, I want to share something with you that came across my desk from a good preaching friend in their church bulletin. It is simply entitled, Joy That Cannot Be Taken Away. And see there, Brother Wendell and Janet logging in. Brother Wendell, hope and pray you're doing well with your shoulder and a good recovery underway. Maybe we can go fishing. We can get your brother out there as well, Brother Dennis. But joy that cannot be taken away. You see, it's an inescapable fact that trials and tribulation will come upon us in this life. And Peter recognizes this as he wrote in 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 6, though now for a little while, he said, if need be, you have been grieved by various trials. And Peter explains that these griefs and these trials, they have a purpose. Sometimes we fail to see and recognize that purpose. And here in 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 7, it tells us that the genuineness of your faith, being much more precious than gold that perishes, though it is tested by fire, he says, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ. Now, the importance of perseverance, endurance, grows as your trials grow. The men and women that we read of in Hebrews chapter 11, you know, that great Hall of Fame of Faith chapter. They suffered greatly on occasions in their lives. But the reason that they are listed there is because their faith was greater than their trial. You remember for Noah, it was the labor and the work of building that great ark when no one else even believed or cared. For Abraham, it was offering Isaac, their son of promise, the son that he loved, on the altar of sacrifice. For Moses, it was giving up the pleasures of life to suffer with God's people. For Rahab, you remember Rahab, the harlot, the prostitute? It was choosing to believe in God rather than the lifeless idols that she had grown up with. There were so many others whose faith cost them their very lives, being stoned, being sawn in half, killed with the sword. In every case, it was their faith that enabled them to persevere. And you know what? Their perseverance has brought to them praise and honor and glory from God. High praise indeed. For God's faithful today, the joy, the true joy of being a Christian cannot be dampened by the trials and tribulations of this life. Christianity has the hope and the promise of God for eternal joy. And Jesus spoke of those who were poor, even hungry, weeping and hated and being reviled. And he said this in Luke chapter 6, beginning in verse 20. He said, rejoice in that day and leap for joy. For indeed your reward is great in heaven, for in like manner their fathers did to the prophets. You see, Christianity rises above the woes and the heartaches, the burdens and the persecutions of this life. Christianity has heaven as her anchor and eternity as her clock. Christianity has God as her planner, and Jesus Christ is her guarantee. That is why Paul could say with all confidence, from a cold, damp prison cell. Philippians chapter 4, verse 4. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I will say, rejoice. Paul put our trials and our sufferings in their proper light when he said, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Paul's words inspired in Romans chapter 8, verse 18. And these words came from a man who had firsthand understanding of what suffering is all about. You see, my friend, remember, Paul was stoned. He was whipped, as he said, with stripes above measure, beaten with rods, and on he goes as he describes many of the sufferings he endured. Now, when the day comes that you and I stand before the Lord Jesus Christ, and you hear those words, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world, Matthew 25 and verse 34, all the suffering, all the persecution, all the trials and things like that of this life will just simply fade away. Absolutely no comparison. In 1 Peter chapter 1, verse number 6, begins with this, in this you greatly rejoice. Why? Why do we greatly rejoice in this, in suffering? Because of the salvation that will be revealed, he says, in the last time. Verse 9 goes on and says, receiving the end of your faith, the salvation of your souls. That is why we rejoice with a joy that cannot be shaken, cannot be taken away, cannot be stolen from us by anything in this world. So let us lift up our eyes. Let us focus our hearts and our minds and our lives on Jesus. Let us live in the joy that cannot be taken away. Well, may God bless you. Church family, if you need me, call me. Send me a message, however you need to get out to me, and let me know how I can help you. Remember, church family, also that our elders are available, and if you need them, reach out to them. They'd love to serve you and help you. But until next time, may God bless you. We love you. Take care. We'll see you soon.